following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.
Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host. Today I have a special guest with me, and she is running for State Senate here in District 13 in New Hampshire. Doris Hohensee. It's Hohensee.
Hohensee.
Hohensee. Of course it is.
It's difficult to say.
Yeah, we got it.
Good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm glad and I'm honored that you're here. You're my next door neighbor, basically, as far as districts, because I'm running for District 12 and you're running for...
Well, we're sharing the wards in Nashville. You've got 1, 2, and 5, and I've got 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9.
All right, so we're neighbors.
You're neighbors.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And my first question is, how's the race going?
It's interesting. I'm enjoying meeting the people. They tell you really how they think. They don't hold back. They don't sugarcoat anything. And the seniors are frustrated and hurting. The middle-aged people, a lot of them, they don't even know that the political process works anymore. And when you get to the 18 and 20-year-olds, sometimes I've had to sit there and coax them that they should vote at all. I mean, because they don't see the cause and effect. So we need to show them that they have a voice, that they can have a representative that represents what they want. And they need to talk to us more. I mean, you go to their door and a lot of them are afraid to talk. Not afraid to, but they're just like, is it going to do any good? So once you get them talking, it's great.
Are you door knocking a lot?
I'm doing a lot of door knocking, more than I ever imagined. It's fun. I mean,
and when you typically knock at a door, what's your, hi, I'm Doris, I'm running for Senate?
I mean, if they're busy, you can just tell by reading them. If they're busy, I just say hi and I give them the information. If they look like they're pausing and they want to stop and have more conversation, I'm happy to talk.
When I'm door knocking, I've been asking, their top concern. And sometimes it's hard for me to get that out of them.
They don't always know it. They sometimes just feel this big angst, and they don't really know how to.
You can see concern.
Yeah. You can see concern.
Yeah, and
it's only one place I went that she was actually happy, and she says, "Well, that's all right, because taxes are supposed to go up." So it was a good contrast.
Oh dear.
But I haven't seen a lot of that. That was only one house.
Right.
And I don't know. Maybe she was being a little sarcastic.
I was surprised. Talking, obviously my district goes from Nashua to Ringe, New Ipswich, Greenville. When I'm talking to some people, obviously they're concerned about their property taxes. They're concerned about Common Core, and I'm going to ask you a little bit about Common Core. But in Hollis, they're concerned about the pipeline, and I'm concerned about that as well, and property rights. But I was blown away on a routine basis that people are concerned about illegal aliens.
Yes, I think that's a very big button, hot button. Not that we can fix it at the state level, but that's an enormous concern, and they'll bring it up.
Well, it is a concern, and of course, now we have all these viruses that are going, there's this major concern. Right. We saw the trainloads of kids being brought in through the borders, and of course they're being flown in. And they're being sent around the country, and nobody knows where they're being placed. If you have to integrate into your community just one child, the taxpayers have to take care of that. Now, if that child is sick, you have a myriad of other things, and these are the things that people are concerned with.
I don't understand the mechanism. I was under the impression that they placed them with a family, so there was some federal money coming in to support the family? I don't know.
But local
Or were these-
municipalities aren't hearing where they're going. That's the mystery.
There's not a lot of transparency, and the concern is not just the ones coming from the southern border, but now we have this Ebola, and the president doesn't seem to address that. So there's concern on the airlines in general that I'm hearing.
Seems like everywhere you turn, if you turn on that news, there's something that's just blowing your mind.
Right.
Staying locally, though, I think another thing people are really concerned. I recently had Charlie Arlinghouse on my show, and he said that there's a huge dark cloud that's on the horizon.
Oh, the budget and the overspending? Yes.
When we left the House in 2010 through 12, we left a surplus of $72 million.
In the rainy day fund.
In the rainy day fund. That's there for the rainy day, for emergencies, if we need it. 50 million of that, from what I understand, has been spent. And now, I guess the governor wants an 18% increase.
So essentially, she's writing out that 2-year pause where we took back control of the budget and we made everything balance. She wants a straight line. She wants to go straight up, and 18% will get her back on track.
Up to what?
I don't.
Now you have to deal with that. You have the Medicaid
Where does
expansion.
the money come from? If you take an 18% increase, that's about $1,500 per person, not per household, per person.
In addition to that,
In addition to your previous taxes and fees, it's like, where does this money come from?
and the Hillsborough County budget, the media hasn't talked about this, but it went up 9%. The county went up 9%. So now you have the governor going up 18%, the county going up 9%. Of course, we have the gas tax. Now we're enjoying a little bit of a reprieve with the gases, which is great, just in time for the elections. I don't know if there's any relationship. But when is it enough?
Well, it's not a matter of whether it's enough. It's just what we have is an exodus of businesses. I mean, I've got 6 kids. 4 of them have already found jobs out of state because they can't find jobs here. We came here because there was an abundance of high-tech jobs.
Right.
I left New York City. I love New Hampshire. I don't want to send my kids to, or have them leave and go back to cities. I mean, a view in the city is of the skyline. A view here is like on top of Mad Monadnock. It's totally different. We have no sales and no income tax. They have layers of sales and income taxes in New York City where I left. So the quality of life up here is, it's just enormously different. And I want to protect that because I love New Hampshire. So if we don't start looking at our business climate, our high energy costs, and all these other factors to open up our state for business.
You brought up the energy costs. Interesting. There was just an article of how that's going to skyrocket in the very near future. And nobody from Lynch, Hassan, or even Governor Shaheen, they've done nothing about it.
They don't have a plan. We're the 6th highest in the country before this all happened. So what happens now?
And that's why a lot of businesses are leaving. I thought it was just the business profit tax.
No, there's a lot of things. And you talk to some of the business owners, and they're almost laughing because it's sort of like, it's pathetic. They're being assaulted from right, left, and sideways.
They have the high energy tax, a high energy cost. They have the high
healthcare costs that everybody's got, but they have it many times over for their employees.
High workers' comp. Within her administration, and of course Peggy Gilmore's, there's at least 100 new taxes and fees over their tenure. These businesses can't absorb it. And people, it's very important for them to understand that if you lose your business base, your property taxes are going to go up.
I think they look at it in a totally different way than we do. I mean, we're more analytical. We say, okay, we've got this job base. We're a graying state. We want to expand it. We want more jobs. Once we got the money, then we'll figure out where to spend it. They do. We need these services. So where can we take the money? It's you have to start with building the base and then working from there. I don't think they look at the way we do, so I don't think they see it. They just look at, we've removed so much money from UNH, and then it was restored. But it's like, that's where the money belongs. It's like,
they're entitled to it. It's
they're
interesting.
looking at it from a different way, and I think the voters are going to have to decide which way they want the representatives to look at the problem. whether they want them to look at it from let's how to spend and then find the taxes to make that work out, or maybe people just bond something. I mean, I don't understand how they can keep going at 18%.
Well, somebody's going to have to pay for it. If you bond it up the road, somebody's going to have to pay for it.
Our children.
Your children, your grandchildren, or your great-grandchildren?
They're leaving the state,
I had,
which is sad.
On my show here, Speak Up, we had Deb Shorter. She was a caseworker for Health and Human Services. She wrote a book called Ripping Off the Mask of Welfare Fraud, something to that effect. And it's alarming that there's so much waste in fraud in our government. And I've yet to see anybody rein that in, other than just increasing the budgets. You don't see anywhere in the news where they're tightening their belt, they're checking in, or they're prosecuting any type of fraud. Instead, you just keep throwing more money at it.
You would think if they're very concerned about people receiving these, that they would want to make sure that they were targeting it to the right families and checking and double checking. But that's the problem. When you had the charities, they were at the local level, you could see locally where the money's going and whether it was going to somebody that was using it for a good cause. If you're way far away at the state or the federal government, you don't understand where it's being spent as easily.
Right. It's so very frustrating when you see somebody who's really disabled, who is physically challenged, who really needs the state support, who the families, you know, it's a lifelong process for them. They need this help.
And there are tragic cases, even in Nashua, of families that you meet that have these problems and unmet needs.
Right.
Because the money isn't being targeted to the right place.
Right. And there's fraud, and nobody's taking care of that, and that needs to be addressed.
It's a difficult problem to address.
Right. Because if you go after the fraud, then you're labeled as an extremist. And that has to be, somebody has to take that on. So this, you know, another thing people are talking about is this Common Core. How is it that the federal government is controlling our testing? Where does that say in our Constitution that that is their job?
Well, our Constitution says we have the right to hire our own teachers and contract with them. It doesn't say that we have to allow the federal government or any consortia to bring in a test to evaluate our teachers and decide which ones to label ineffective and fire. So that's a stretch. But more and more parents are pushing back. And in Alton this past week, they got a waiver from the test for the high school students. So they won't have to do the online adaptive test that has all the problems with data mining. They have a paper and pencil test.
Data mining?
Oh, you don't even want to go there. All the information on this is tracked and is given from the consortia, because it's pulled right from the student online. The questions he answers, they immediately get to decide whether to give him a harder or an easier next question. But a lot of those questions aren't academic, they're behavioral.
Where does this information go?
Well, it goes to the consortium. They have a contract with the U.S. DOE, Department of Ed, to take the information, and they will share it with labor or whatever.
That's kind of like out of a sci-fi movie. That's extreme.
It does seem like it's 400 data points per student. They'll track your family's income, the family's religion, the family's political affiliation, the behavioral problems, medical problems, anything. And they say they're doing it for research and this, that, and the other thing. But it used to be that was private information, and a parent had to sign under the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act. They respected the parent's right for privacy, but they just rewrote some regulations. They never went back to Congress and said, is this outdated? Are those rights now void? They never did that. They just said, well, we're going to skirt and go around this. We're just going to, so a district can sell the data like they did in California. When Arnie Duncan was visiting, they needed a podium. So they sold student data, and they had the podium for when he came.
Now, what I'm hearing also is that many teachers are having a hard time adjusting to it, as well as the parents, because the teachers have to teach this new form, say, on the math. They have to teach a new form of math that the students weren't taught on a foundational level, and the students are struggling with it, and they're going home, and the parents have no clue how, because they were taught a different way. The
parents that bring this up at the door, they completely lose it. They are so upset, and especially the math. It's no longer logical and intuitive. The algorithms they go through are kind of crazy and convoluted. and there's no need for it. It's totally unnecessary.
You know, I guess one of the other things that's very, very problematic in my mind is how we ended up with this Common Core. It didn't go through the legislature.
No.
It didn't go, and the legislature
Well, the
is
Senate
the people's...
tabled it. It was going through the House in 2010, and the Senate, including you know, many people on both sides of the aisle, they tabled it. They didn't want to push it. But Common Core got into our district through federal funds. They created a regional structure under our State Department of Education, and these regional liaisons came to our districts and instructed our administrators on how, what, when, and where. And then they went and turned around and said to the school boards, guess what we're doing this year? Not parents, what would you like? Parents, would you like to look at this? Or no, it's just backwards. It's already a fait accompli.
So it's almost like as though they did it through administrative law or through an executive order or something.
It's being regionally implemented, and that's what the department kept saying on the radio, that we are implementing this on a regional basis, and they've got all these regional liaisons. So they're creating a new governance structure. We have school districts, and we have a State Department. We don't have, in state law, anywhere, regional liaisons. So they're creating a cabinet for the Commissioner of Education.
Which bypasses the people of and citizens of New Hampshire.
It does.
And they're going to have to pay for this.
We had a bill in to try to study this, and we also pointed out that the Division of Instruction was an illegal division. It was supposed to be the Division of Educational Improvement. So they fixed that. But there was a whole series of things that we wanted to look at, and they didn't look at them. Because the legislature refused to push the bill through and require them to address these issues.
You know, we're talking about issues, and that's what we do. We talk about issues. We don't do with this ad hominem attacks, and recently I've been attacked. I actually started laughing because I didn't know where it came from.
It's easy to do. They take a name, they call you that, and then they don't have to talk about the issues. They can laugh at you and make fun of you, like in a schoolyard, and say, you are this name, whatever the name is.
It's projection, and they're very gifted at doing this. Now, your competitor is Lasky?
Betty Lasky.
Betty Lasky, and she's got hundreds of thousands of dollars. Is there a need?
No. She has about 50,000.
50,000?
49, 50,000.
Oh, well, Peggy Gilmore's got 122.
Well, that's because it's...
But this whole name calling has got to stop because, I mean, you've got enough money. Well, why do you have to throw names? You know, get your issues out. Come together.
Why won't
how come she won't debate you?
They won't debate me. She calls it a debate that we're having this Thursday, where one of the candidates goes out in a room and talks, and the other one's secluded. And then that gets reversed. So I don't ever see her, I don't ever hear her speak, and that's a debate? And then they have analysts that come in at the end and will tell the people who are in the audience who the better candidate is. That's my only opportunity to debate her. I think it's pretty shabby.
It looks like a setup.
Well, I'm doing the best I can, but that's not a debate. There was another opportunity to debate, but I would have had to sign off and say that I wouldn't use anything, any video or any clips from the video on my website or in my campaign. And I had to go on with 6 candidates, and if all 6 didn't agree to it, there would be no debate. Well, there was no agreement of all 6 candidates, so it didn't matter whether I agreed or not. That opportunity wasn't mine to have. So I asked for another opportunity, a real debate. But again, it was like, unless all 6 candidates, that means both Senate districts and the Executive Council, and so everybody agreed for one big event.
How are the people
The Democrats
actually
weren't willing to hold it.
How are the people going to hear? How are they going to know the difference between you other than the person calling you names?
There might be a few articles in the newspaper. They'd be a little short. And your candidate has $100,000 to get her message out.
122. That's as of the other day. I don't know how much she has now. And from what I understand, 70% of that's from out of district, 15% of that is from out of state. And Planned Parenthood, the unions. And I'm thinking, you know, I got about nine grand. And all I could do is knock doors, meet people, and get the issues out. Fortunately, we have a local TV show that at least we can communicate for free.
My candidate has 93% from special interest lobbyists and corporations, so only 7% is from people. So I'm sure that she's going to have difficulty, if elected, to represent the people.
Right.
So, and I think mine has been in there for 14 years. And you can say, wow, that's a lot of experience. Let's keep her going. But this isn't a career path. This is a citizen legislature.
Right.
And the question is to the voters is, do you like the way things are going in the state?
Mm-hmm.
If so, keep on going. If not, maybe you want a different candidate with a different set of tools.
Right. Any final thoughts for our guests about some of the main issues, or how do people reach you, Doris?
Well, I have a website. My name is DorisHohensee.com is my website. I'm on there. I'm on Facebook. They can email me at doris.hohensee@comcast.net. I'm willing to talk anytime. I love it when I really am thrilled when I get somebody at the door and they sit there and they want to talk about something. It's nice to see that enthusiasm. It's really good because they believe in the system.
Right.
Because they're talking about issues as if they matter and they haven't given up. I was talking to one gentleman this weekend. He was very upset because our Ward 3 was moved to the church. He says there's separation of church and state now. Maybe in the beginning they were held in churches. He says he won't vote because it has to move back to the school. So I was very glad to talk to him. I encouraged him to vote, but that was a decision that maybe we should have discussed with the people a little bit more because...
Well, I know there was a church in Ward 5. It was moved into the church away from the schools, and I didn't hear any opposition to that. It's just the building.
It is, but my bigger concern not is which building. I mean, I appreciate it being in the school because my taxes go to improve the school. I like to see it from year to year, how my tax dollars are spent. But my biggest concern is you have a school and you've got a parking lot, and the candidates should be somewhere between the parking lot and the building, not way out in left field. So all they're doing is waving to the candidate, to the voters as they go by. And some of our wards, you're able to shake their hands, say good morning, thank you for voting. And other wards, they're way out there on the driveway. And I think that some equity needs to be put back into that system.
Yeah, well, we're a citizen legislature. We're a big legislature. We're each legislator, I think, is what, 3,000 or so people. They represent that many people, and it was designed for the people to have a voice.
So they could meet you at the grocery store and tell you what their problems are and unload them.
That's right.
But they need to be able to talk to you. So shutting down that public discourse, even on election day, is really not helping the situation of making a relationship between the voter and his representative candidates. And I'm hoping that somebody will, because the state law just says 10-foot quarter. It's our national ordinances that put us way out 100 feet or whatever at the discretion of the moderator. That needs to be revisited. A lot of things that need to be revisited.
Yeah, I think a lot. And transparency is key. If we're going to make this government work, it's the government of the people, for the people, by the people. And that's where government gets its power, is from the people.
Exactly.
So thank you for coming on Speak Up.
Well, thank you for having me.
And good luck.
Thank you.
And I hope you win. You have my endorsement, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Speak Up. If you have any questions, please contact us at speakupnh@gmail.com. And I really appreciate you folks watching the show. We hope that we're informative. We want to get the issues out. And if you want to come on the show, please just contact me and we'll get you on here. I don't ask you what party you're from. We just want to help you be a voice. No gotcha questions here. This is a matter of you having a voice and we giving you that opportunity. Thank you for watching Speak Up. And we want to thank our sponsor, Avard, the Dean of Clean, the carpet cleaner in the Nashua area. If you want to contact them, call 603-521-7657. Thanks for watching.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.